Hey everyone, Eric Wright from the Disco Posse podcast here. Thanks for watching. I've got some really crazy cool stuff that's going on. And one of the things that I get asked about quite a lot is when you're getting started with a podcast, what's the right way in which you can actually generate your own, production? And this means things like bumpers, intros, outros. It's a very careful balance, right? Because you want to make sure you get something that's memorable and meaningful and contextual to the way that you run your podcast or your show. And then from there, what you're going to do is make sure that you're using something that we call podsafe, or ultimately royalty safe or legal safe. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go through a little bit of fun that I had with my own podcast, in which I took something that's from my own, my own history, and I brought it back to the podcast. If you've ever heard what used to be the opener, and now I actually use it as my closer because it seemed like the perfect ending. And let's just see, I'm going to play this and you can see what it looks like. So I'm going to show you two things. One, how do you actually choose something that's, cool to use and make sure that it's pod safe? And then from there, how do you get somebody to help you? Because you may not be a musician. I'm lucky. I play guitar, I do my own production, but I reached out for help. And I'm going to show you. I'm even going to give you my guy that I go to. He is literally one of the best in the market. And you can book him and get his help. It's fantastic. All right, let's jump in. So anybody familiar, if you've already checked it out, you know what the closing of my podcast is, and I'm going to play you what it originally came from, and let's just see. So let's spark it up and turn on. Well, you can see the letters on the screen, so you know, right? I'm an old school radio fan, so I remember this show. When I was a kid, I knew that song because I used to watch WKRP in Cincinnati all the time. Now, there's a lot of fun stories around this actual song. First of all, the words that you listen to, check it out. Complete gibberish. There literally are no real legitimate words to the song. It was done basically as a production piece, and it was done by somebody who I've been lucky enough to actually reach out and get in contact with. I'm going to show you that in a minute. I use the WKRP as an idea. I said, this is the ending for the show. So every show during the credits, it would run this closing thing. And I like this kind of, it had this kind of bluesy rock and roll beat to it. I loved it. And I'm a guitarist, so I thought it'd be pretty cool. Now, what am I going to do if I want to create my own? I've got to make sure this is safe to use. Remember, this was used on television. So you've kind of got to go at two routes. Number one, you have to be able to find the original composer to make sure you can get the rights in order to use it and get permission. Very important. You have to get permission. You're going to want to write this stuff down. So you want permission in written or email format, so it's dated, timed, and proof that you have permission to use a particular element. It doesn't mean you're not going to get busted by the YouTube folks, so be careful even if you've got it, because that's the second permission you need, is using the original format and replaying it. You have to now get the publisher's rights. It's two sides of things. So you want to get the composer and the publisher, because they ultimately own the rights until it's off the books. There's a couple of ways you can get around this, which is doing stuff like using YouTube links. I'll do a separate thing entirely on exploring the YouTube safe content. And because you can use those royalty-free anywhere, you can use GarageBand stuff. It's all royalty-free loops, safe for use in any format. Okay, cool. So we've got this, and you know my crazy story, right? I love the idea of old school radio. That's why people on my podcast actually read out their own thing like, hey, this is Eric Wright. I'm from the podcast, and you're listening to the Disco Posse podcast, right? I wanted to make it fun. So let's make it fun and go one step further. Okay, so I want to make it fun. So let's take a look. So I reached out and I found, number one, the fantastic backstory around the song itself and how it got created. And I reached out to the very real and thankfully still around Jim Ellis from Jim Ellis Music. Jim's a composer. He's a fantastic musician himself, and he did a lot of stuff in the industry. So he's been a composer and producer for a long time. Really, really cool. So I reached out, I found Jim's contact info, and I did some outreach, and I said, hey, I'm a fan. And what I would really love to do is to use this WKRP closing theme music for my own podcast, and I'm not sure how the process works. Remember, composers and publishers, they want their stuff to be played and used as well. So luckily, Jim was an amazing person. And he said, you got it, right? He said he gave me permission to use the song. However, he cannot give me permission to use the original performance because ultimately that became the rights of the TV station, the producer, the production crew, whatever it is. So how do you go back in time and find this person? Solve the problem a different way. I'm going to create my own version. Now that I have permission to use the song from the original composer, I can create my own version of it. Now let's figure out how to do that. This is where we go and we meet my friend Sebastien. So Sebastien is my composer of choice. I've got a link down below to where you can get a hold of Sebastien. He's on Upwork. He's from the Netherlands. Oh my God, this is incredible working with Sebastien. I've used him for a couple different production pieces, and he's just fantastic. Communicates well, fast turnaround, quality is unbelievable. All I wanted to do was just get the drums and the bass for my composition. I needed to be able to play the guitar myself because I said, I'll take care of the guitar. I got that covered. I don't want to rent or buy a bass. And I don't have a drummer. So how do I solve this problem? Upwork. That's how I solve this problem. I find Sebastien. I reach out and I've got a link to his SoundCloud as well. So click the link. Follow Sebastien. He's fantastic. Buy this man a beer or whatever it is they drink in the Netherlands. So Sebastien reached out and said, no problem. I got you covered. I can't remember. I won't go into exactly what the cost of it was, but it was a nominal charge for me. It was basically a couple of hours work for Sebastien. And I said, so let's just say it's in the $200 to $300 range. Generally, you can get some good work done. It's a short piece. Remember, it's a short piece. So again, use it wisely, but go through. Sebastien has lots of top quality stuff, and they range anywhere from, $50 to $1,000, depending on the length of the piece and the type of work. Okay, cool. So now I've got Sebastien. I've signed him up for the deal. I sent him the sample, which I pulled a YouTube link, and I said, go, this is what I want to get done. And Sebastien says, no problem. Let me check it out. And he sends me back some pieces. So remember, this is what I sent him. This is literally like audio from the 70s or 80s, whatever it is. It's the late 70s. And so what I said, I want this. I want it to be like really cool. I want it to be badass. So I said, start with like a really deep, solid bass line. Well, Sebastien produced. Let's check it out. How's that? Good? Okay, it's cool, but it sounds a little bit weird on its own, right? And he says, no worries. Let me do the drums as well. Okay, cool. Not only did he give me the drums, but he's got a couple of different versions. Let's mute out the bass and let's try the drums. Double bass. I seriously wish I was in a band just so that I could get Sebastien to play like every instrument under the sun for me. He's incredible. Anyways, wicked cool drums. Now let's glue those two things together. We get a sense of the sound. Okay. Now remember, this actually happened in the course of like a couple of days that we go back and forth on this stuff. So he's like, I'm not sure what time it is in the Netherlands, wherever I am and whenever he is, but Sebastien is doing the stuff and sending these cuts. Cool, right? I love the progression. I love the style. So he not only has he picked up what I want, but he's like hitting every possible element of the original, and he's amping up to exactly the way I wanted to. Cool. And then it gets better because Sebastien, being a fantastic human that he is, says, what if is it okay if I actually do the piano for it as well? Okay, hang on a second. This amazing human is going to do more? All right, let's check this out. So he's going to add the piano. Let's try this out, right? We got the kick-ass beginning. We got some stuff going on. I like this. All right. All right. Okay, busting. Okay. That sounds like a karaoke track because there's no vocals or anything on there, except this is a kick-ass karaoke track. Okay, next up, he sends me more piano. More piano. Tries out some different versions. Sebastien is the best composer ever. All right, here we go. Now we're going with 2 pianos. This is kind of awesome. So this is what's happening. I'm literally getting this stuff in the course of like a few hours. When you work with amazing musicians, you get incredible results because he's an expert at what he does. And I'm an expert in wanting something that I'm willing to pay a few bucks for. It's a beautiful opportunity for both. So this is cool. All right, cool. Now let's sort of bring it down. And we're going to put the drums and the bass and the piano together. Now what's happened? We thickened it up. He doubled the bass, doubled the piano. I'm pretty sure that Sebastien has forgotten more about music than I already know, or will ever know. Oh, yeah. Now, this is the funny thing. It's a short piece, right? Okay, that's cool. But we're not done yet. It's time for old disco to sit in. And this is the fun part. Let's hear what happens when you put me on top of it. Now, I decided, let's play this sucker out. And let's do this with a little bit of fun. Now that is raw, unproduced guitar. So let's go a little bit further. Don't forget, oh, you're already seeing it on screen. You kind of know my little giveaway. There's a little bit of fun at the end. And let's mute out exactly where the fun is. Because if you know the WKRP song, it goes all the way to the end and they use the, I think it's MGM or whatever the production thing is, or production company. And they have the circle with the little cat. And the cat meows at the end. So I need a meow. This is what a meow sounds like. I decided to get my youngest son to do the meow for me. That's the kind of fun that we have at the Disco Posse podcast. How cool is that? But let's put it in context. All right. So this is it from start to finish in its few seconds of glory. This is now what happened. I took the guitar, I reproduced it, and I mixed it so it was a little bit better. I've got a couple of different versions, but this is the one you hear at the end of the podcast every time. So now you know you got to stay around to the end. Remember, that's the original. Let's hear what it sounds like all together right to the end. that, folks, is how you produce your own intro, outro, closer, your own production, quality, grade, incredible music for your podcast. And you do it pod safe. You do it yourself. If you're not a guitarist, no worries. I got Sebastien. So if you need help, go see Sebastien. Seriously, click the link down below. He's fantastic. There's other folks that you may be able to find out there depending on the style you're looking for. But if you need something, if you want to reach out, definitely hit me up on Twitter, on LinkedIn, however you want. Drop me an email through all sorts of different ways. I'm Disco Posse. It's easy to find me. So I hope this is helpful to you. Remember, number one, pod safe. Make sure that you've got royalty-free music. You can, keep watching. We're going to have a future video on how to get the ultimate set of YouTube-friendly, royalty-free music. Then, on top of that, you need to get composer and publisher rights. In this case, I only needed composer rights because the publisher was under the specifics of that release of the song. You still got to be careful, though. Make sure you get yourself covered. You need a great guitarist, you need a great musician, and you need a great lawyer. Hopefully you don't need the lawyer part. But if you need one of those, I'm sure there's lots out there. All right, that's it. That's Disco Posse. That's the WKRP closer. So you know the origins of how it all came together. I hope you're enjoying the show. Thanks very much. Make sure you hit on the old subscribe button. Drop us a comment if you like this and you want more info. I'm always happy to help folks out and get started with how to do podcasting. And if you're looking for more information like this, drop me a comment, and I look forward to seeing or hearing from you on a future show. Thanks very much.